6 months into owning a Lamborghini, and honestly the way that it drives now is completely different. So when I first got this car, I was nervous, I'm not gonna lie. The very first day that I had it, I drove it to my uncle's house and I just kept it in the garage there, and I was really hesitant on just taking out the car for random drives. That's how nerve-wracking the vehicle was the very first day. I was nervous not because I couldn't drive it, but because I knew exactly what I was driving. Whenever you drive a Lamborghini, your areas or your surroundings, they completely transform. You get stared at like crazy. Traffic on the road behaves a whole lot differently. Your whole environment just completely shifts. So that was a big difference, or a big change that I've never had before in any of my previous cars. But I remember the very first day, so the first thing was, initially the bumps on the road would scare the hell out of me. So I'd be driving the car on a local road, and any single bump that would be there, I would basically come to a complete stop and just go around the whole thing. It wasn't something like now where I can fluidly just drive around it. But I remember the vehicle that I have also has a front lift, and during the city drives, I was so cautious on how the vehicle could handle bumps. It was very different that I rode around with the front lift activated the whole entire time. Now, if you don't know about the front lift, many supercars have this. It is a blessing in disguise. You can drive with it while it's up, as long as you're going, say, below 40 miles per hour, and then after you go past that, it goes down all by itself. But I was so cautious that I was literally driving with it up in the city the whole time. I was still getting used to the clearance of the car. But every little bump in the road felt like a big deal. Even small little dips and uneven roads, you start overthinking literally everything. But yeah, 6 months later, you get used to this. You get used to the car's dynamic feeling, and then you can easily just maneuver past those potholes and bumps on the road. The car is very comfortable, especially if you're in the comfort setting or strata mode. But if you bump it into the track mode, the Corsa mode, then you can basically guarantee yourself that you will literally feel every bump in your back. It's meant for just the track. But now, 6 months later, when I'm driving the car, if I see a bumpy road, I will go through it, but I would go at a slower speed, and I know exactly how much I can slow down. But one big thing that you also have to learn how to do whenever you're driving a lowered car is, if you do see a bump or something just kind of sticking out the road, you have to learn definitely how to take the car at an angle along that bump, just so you don't scrape the front of it. As soon as you master that, it makes life a whole lot more easy. If you combine that maneuver along with the front lift, you're basically good for the rest of your life. And then number two, one of the things that I definitely avoided, so I always stuck to the main roads. I never took the back roads. It's only the back roads where you'll see a lot more crazy reactions. Smaller towns, smaller cities, smaller roads, they're not obviously used to seeing a Lamborghini go down their neighborhood. So whenever you stick to the main roads, it feels a bit more normal. You feel like you're driving more of a normal car. But as soon as you go into a rural city, smaller town, back road, if you see any reactions there, you're going to get a whole lot more attention, which could get a little bit distracting if you're somebody who's anxious. So whenever I drive the car, I definitely just stick to the main roads. It made things feel a whole lot more predictable. Whenever I drive the car, I only drive on main roads, and then mainly the highways. So I'll drive on the highways a whole lot, get gas on the highway, or a gas station that's connected to the highway, just so the environment feels a bit more controlled. But that's going to be another thing too. So gas stations are going to be the spots that probably get the most attention. But even right now, 6 months after the fact, I remember the first time I took the Lambo to go get some gas, I almost fell out the car because I still wasn't used to getting out the car. But even now, I do still avoid certain gas stations. Any gas stations that are really far off the highway, really far off the main road, your Lambo that's going to be parked there getting gas is basically going to be a billboard itself for people on that road to come in and then go fill up gas too. As soon as you pull into the gas station, people are immediately gonna start staring. You'll have people come up to you and take pictures of the car, which is all cool. But again, initially when I first got the car, I was not used to this at all. But 6 months after the fact, it's just something that I've learned that comes with the car, and you almost expect it whenever you're filling up gas. And then you get used to the stares, you get used to the head nodding, and then you kind of just learn to go with the flow. But if I have the chance, I do avoid the smaller gas stations. They attract just a bit more attention than the bigger ones. Me, personally speaking, I rather just get in and get out. But highway gas stations are usually the best. They're more fast moving, they're less pressure, and then there's no crowd because people who are getting gas on the highway are usually just trying to get to somewhere as quick as they can. And then you're in and out pretty quickly. I mentioned it in section 1, but learning the car and how to use the front lift was a big deal. So I've never personally had a lowered car before this. Granted, the Lambo that I have is stock. It's not exactly lowered, but it is lower than the normal car, so it still feels like it's lowered. I've never had a car that had that front lift system, so I was still getting used to that. It takes like 15 seconds for it to activate and then lift up the car a few inches up. But over time, you do start to learn how to use that front lift system, and it's only in those situations where you actually have to use it in like an emergency or whatever, where you start to really appreciate that the car has it. But over time, you start learning it. Now I know exactly when a bump is coming, and I don't even think about it. It just kind of happens with the flow. Your hand just naturally just goes right over to that front lift button, which is actually located in the center stack nearby that red button that you see over to the left a little. But I just hit it. I know it takes about 15 seconds for it to get up, so right when it's about to hit that 15-second mark, then I just begin to just start gradually moving forward, and it over time just becomes a really good muscle memory. And then if you combine that with taking the bump at an angle, you're pretty much in good shape, and then you never have to worry. But even though I have this, I'm still extremely wary about lowering the car even more than the stock height. Even though the car is stock, even though it has a front lift, there is still a lot of times where I've came in those close situations where I just kind of barely got through it. I actually have a video of me going through this exact situation whenever this past weekend I just was involved in taking the Lamborghini on a surprise 50th birthday party. A couple things you do have to worry about as soon as you take your car onto the highway. So at first I would just drive on the highway, but with this car, a couple things I have to watch out for is making sure the engine gets up to speed or gets up to a temperature, this is actually a really cool thing about the car, is that it does get up to engine temperature super quick compared to any other car that I've ever driven before. But the main thing is going to be the tires. So my car is all-wheel drive, so it's not that much of a big deal, but any Lambo that's rear-wheel drive, you have to pay attention to your tire temperature. But with the tires cold, it's not going to end well. So even when I jump on the highway, I take the first 10, 15, 20 minutes to just drive at a nice steady pace until the vehicle's tires are heated up. But on the highway, at first, the very first week, it felt very nerve-wracking on the fact that I'm driving around a $300,000 car. You feel really low to the ground. You literally feel like you're sitting in a go-kart, which is awesome. But now I do feel 6 months later, I do feel it's a whole lot more comfortable. I'm able to kind of know exactly where cars are and predict traffic patterns a bit better, and even take the additional step to watch out for any unpredictable traffic. One of the biggest small little tweaks that I've done with the side mirrors is I did put on these small blind spot mirrors that do help a ton, because the visibility in the side mirrors without these blind spot mirrors would make turning the car a whole lot more nerve-wracking, because the visibility and your blind spots are a whole lot worse compared to any normal car. So having those blind spot mirrors do help a whole lot. But I do feel a whole lot more comfortable. I feel a bit better being able to navigate through traffic in terms of weaving. It's easier to do. One of the bad things with the Lambo is, as I mentioned, is unpredictable traffic. But the really cool thing that comes with that is that as soon as you turn on your blinker or your turn signal, the vehicle that's in your blind spot will immediately start to lower their speed, making you room to get in. And I just have to hit the turn signal once in order for that to happen. In my previous cars, it used to be that I'd have to put on the turn signal, but then still kind of fight through that spot. But as soon as you turn on your turn signal in a Lamborghini, people just let you go every single time. It's a really cool feeling. But even taking corners, I'm able to more confidently take the corners at a more extreme speed. I'm able to know exactly when to shift, when to downshift. One of the things I wasn't used to was driving the car and then braking the car and then at the same time downshifting the car really quickly. So I wasn't used to that at first, but I got that down very well also. And honestly, the whole thing just feels like muscle memory. A honest comparison, so I will say this might surprise a lot of people. Even though I got better with this car, there are still cars out there that are easier to drive. For example, my M4 that I've had previously was actually easier to weave through traffic. It was more forgiving, but this car does demand a lot more attention. When you're driving a normal car that is also a performance car, kind of like a Porsche or M4, you more easily blend in with the traffic a little better. So whenever you're weaving through traffic, it's easier to do it whenever traffic patterns are being more predictable, people are not getting scared. Whenever you're doing it with the Lamborghini, you can't tell which people saw the Lamborghini, so some are just driving normal. Some do see the Lamborghini in the rearview mirror and then they adjust their speed. But with a Porsche or a BMW, it's easier to weave through because everyone just kind of maintains their speed, so you're able to predict patterns a whole lot better. With a Lamborghini, that's not the case. But even then, a Lamborghini is good in a really straight line, but it does kind of handle still like an Audi. So Audis do obviously handle pretty well, but the handling on an Audi is very different from a BMW. BMW handling, you're more connected with the steering wheel. You're able to kind of think the turn that you're about to take, and then the vehicle will just do it. The Lambo steering, you do kind of have to nudge it a little bit more and kind of force it to take that turn. It's not as connected feeling as a BMW M4 would be. But at the end of the day, the Lambo is a Lambo and a BMW is a BMW, and each have their strengths and weaknesses. At first, it was really weird to drive the car. You're so low to the ground. Traffic patterns are very different. But then as you drive the car, you start to get used to driving a $300, $1,000 car, I guess you could say. It's easier to know exactly what to expect. As soon as you drive past people, you know that they're just going to stop and look. But now you just get used to just driving by with a head nod and maybe a wave, and it starts to feel a whole lot more normal. But yeah, at first it feels like something you have to handle very, very carefully, almost like a really sharp knife. But then as you begin to use that sharp knife, you know exactly how that knife feels in your hand, the weight of it, how exactly you can turn it and whatnot. And then it begins to feel something like you understand. And that's what really changes the driving experience after 6 months.